By doing business consistently and by doing writing cover letters consistently and having a consistent practice, what happens is every case that you submit, it helps you to build a solid relationship with that underwriter, right? The underwriter is going to get to know you. They're going to like you. They're going to trust you. They're going to know you're intentional about doing good business. And over time, that trust is just going to build and build and build. And I can tell you that I can speak for this in the past with myself, that as you do that and you build relationships with these underwriters, they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt here and there, right? Like if they know you do good business and they know they can trust you, all of a sudden, the more time goes by, the more weight and credibility they're going to give to your cover letter. Hey, what's going on, cash flow hackers? It's Chris with Life 180, and for this video, I want to talk to you about something that I consider extremely important. I think this is something that is really overlooked oftentimes in the industry from a life insurance industry perspective. I think whether you're an agent and you're watching this channel and you're looking to learn about this kind of content, or whether you're somebody who's looking to implement utilizing life insurance in your life in one way, shape, or form, this video is something that you're going to want to really understand, because as you go through the process of either selling life insurance or getting a life insurance policy for yourself, utilizing a cover letter to make sure you get the type of insurance that you want, and making sure that you get the right underwriting that you are kind of, I would say, worthy of, is really important. Now, the reason I say it's so important to having a cover letter is because having a well thought out cover letter can make a really significant impact on the underwriting process itself, right? Like, the bottom line is, speak to any underwriter, and what they're going to tell you is that having a cover letter is one of the most important decisions on how they come up with whatever their rating decision is. You know, the bottom line is, for me, what I see when I talk to agents, a lot of agents, especially new agents, think of cover letters simply as, you know, morbidity, mortality, sickness, history, family history, all that stuff. But really, having good underwriting and getting a good rating on your policy for yourself or, you know, for your clients, it's really about building the story and having trust with the actual underwriter. Remember that while the underwriter is going to rely on medical exams, attending physician statements, all sorts of other data and information, the one thing that's really important to understand is that it's still a judgment call, right? The underwriter has a lot of power, right? They get to use their judgment. And I'm not sure that most agents really realize how much pressure that puts on the actual underwriter, right? When you think about that, when we get into large cases that are worth millions of dollars and potentially have millions of dollars of liability for the insurance company, you need to come at this from the perspective of understanding what position the underwriter is in. And once you understand that, now that's going to give you the information that you need to be able to write a cover letter, right? And that's why it's important to not just write a decent cover letter, but to write an amazing cover letter, right? Because what happens here is it's going to help you give them peace of mind about their decision. It's like that old Jerry Maguire thing, help me help you, right? You're helping them help you, right? That's your number one job. And I think this is really important. So remember, the company wants to do business in most cases. They're not looking to try to deny cases all over the place. It's just, if a confused mind always says no. I say that all the time. So you simply have to give them the story as to why they should say yes, period, right? Like, that is your job. Now, as an agent, this is the power of having a main carrier that you work with as an agent, right? Because by doing business consistently and by doing writing cover letters consistently and having a consistent practice, what happens is every case that you submit, it helps you to build a solid relationship with that underwriter, right? The underwriter is going to get to know you. They're going to like you. They're going to trust you. They're going to know you're intentional about doing good business. And over time, that trust is just going to build and build and build. And I can tell you that I can speak for this in the past with myself, that as you do that and you build relationships with these underwriters, they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt here and there, right? Like, if they know you do good business and they know they can trust you, all of a sudden, the more time goes by, the more weight and credibility they're going to give to your cover letter. So I get a lot of questions all the time about, how do I write a good cover letter? And I thought it would be good to put together a little template on what your cover letter should include as you go through and submit a cover letter with every policy, right? So remember that you want to give enough details and narrative, so to speak, enough information for them to have clarity on the case, for the underwriter to have complete clarity. But you also have to understand that these underwriters are dealing with a lot of policies, a lot of cases coming through. So you don't want to give a 20-page dissertation on the entire life story of the person. That's just going to take so much time that the underwriter isn't going to want to deal with it. Now, it's important to know that you can also template these out a bit, right? There's some of this information that I'm going to share with you that can be templated, and some of it will be customized for each case. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through all the different things that you should include in your cover letters. So the first thing that you want to include, and a great place to start, is your history as an agent, because what this is going to do is it's going to help the underwriter develop a relationship with you. Remember, this is not just about your client. This is about the underwriter having a relationship with you and having trust in you. Remember, you are the field underwriter. So their ability to trust you and have that bond with you is really important. If you do this consistently, as I said before, it's going to lead to more approvals, better ratings. And some of the ways that you can do this as you build in the history of you as an agent, and some of the things you can include are: how long have you been in business? What types of clients do you work with? Are there any specific areas of expertise, if applicable, to the current sale? Like, i.e., is it an infinite banking policy? That's something to consider. What is your philosophy and what are your values? Why do you do what you do? Are there any positive interactions, if any, that you've had in the past with the carrier working on similar cases? Remind them that they can trust you. This is an opportunity for you to talk about a past experience, a past similar case in which the strategic rollout of this policy that you're selling here has had success, that you've had clients be approved, where it's worked, and the company has been happy, and the relationship is solid. So once you get through this and they have an understanding of who you are and you've been clear on that, and you're comfortable that you've put your best foot forward there, the next thing to do is talk about how you met the client, right? The context of your relationship with the client is going to help the underwriter trust your information and your field underwriting a bit more, right? So once again, you are the field underwriter. A lot of agents kind of lose sight of that. They think of themselves as salespeople, but it's your job, remember, like from a legal perspective, is to be the field underwriter for the life insurance company. And if the underwriter knows that you're being intentional about doing a solid job and working with solid people, and you're really doing your due diligence to kind of be that field underwriter, they're more likely to give you the benefit of the doubt than not when you put your opinion on certain situations forward. So things to include when you're talking about your relationship with the client are, do you have a long-standing relationship with the client, i.e., how well do you know them, right? How long have you known them? How were you introduced to them? Where did you meet them? Did you meet them at a bar? Obviously not necessarily a good thing. Did you meet them in a sports league? Did you meet them at church? What's the context of the relationship? That's really important. It can add a lot of value for the underwriter. It, once again, helps complete a story. How did the case develop with the client, and how did you become the producer of the case? These are all things that are, once again, just helping the story come together. How well, ultimately, do you know the client? How close to that client are you? And when they're, so now they understand who you are, the underwriter understands who you are, they understand who the client is, and now what you have to do is you have to give them a little bit of the background of the case. So when I say giving the background of the case, ultimately what we're doing here is we're talking about context of the case. So your job is to identify the challenge that the client is having. What are their insurance needs? Do they have a banking need? Do they have a business need? Do they just have a human life value need? Like, what are the needs that they're utilizing? What are the challenges and problems that they have in their life? And how does this product, this solution, solve their problems, right? And you have to articulate how your policy designer designs are the solution to help them solve those challenges. It really is that simple. Once again, doing this is going to give context to the story. It's going to help the underwriter have more clarity and understand where you're coming from. So when they have that clarity, they're more likely to say yes if your solution makes sense. So some of the components that you need to communicate with the underwriter in this context are: how did you come up with the solution being presented in the first place? What's the financial background for the individual or the business that you're underwriting? What is the process to determine the insurance need that you utilized, right? What problems are you solving for the client, right? Like, as I said, you got to identify the challenges or problems and articulate a solution, right? That's what this is all about. Include also any relevant details that show the underwriter how the illustration was put together and why you put it together the way that you did. And so now that they have context, now, if this is a positive thing, right, give them any lifestyle information for the client that is going to act as kind of a character witness, if you will. The way I always like to look at this is, imagine your client was on trial and your job is to be their character witness. That's what I look for this section as being. So the bottom line is here, once again, you have to walk a fine line because you always need to be truthful. Never be deceptive, never tell half-truths, never do anything but be completely truthful when it comes to, advocating for your client's lifestyle here. But you always want to paint your client in the best picture that you possibly can as far as their daily life and habits go, right? So what do they do as far as their lifestyle and habits that are really positive? Are they active? Are they philanthropic? Are they really big in their church? Do they, dedicate a lot of time or money or whatever to their community? Essentially anything that speaks to their character, to their life, and the type of person they are in a positive way, any information that you have that you can share will do nothing but be beneficial for this overall policy. So the last thing that you want to do, ultimately, as far as the context that you want to include for your client here, is any field underwriting that you've done. And this is ultimately where you're going to call out the elephants in the room, right? If there's anything that you know about that's going to come up in underwriting, one of the biggest mistakes that I see agents make is they try to hide it or not address it. The bottom line is it's going to come up. It's going to show up in an attending physician statement as they do a background check, as they do a driver report. You're going to see suspended licenses. You're going to see speeding tickets. You're going to see bad medical records. You're going to see all that stuff. So the number one suggestion that I have here is don't hide it. The bottom line is being upfront is going to build trust. I'm going to beat this nail into the wood. It is, you got to build trust with the underwriter. And if you show that you are being upfront and that you're doing your due diligence to help the underwriter and you're putting your best foot forward, it's going to put the underwriter in a position where they want to give you the best opportunity to be successful in getting your client underwritten. I can't say this more strongly. This is your best chance of success. Hiding anything is going to backfire on you. I promise. So you want to give the underwriter enough detail to be educated on the topic, whatever that is. Don't feel like you need to do all their underwriting. I think that's a really important to understand. You're not going to do it all. They're going to do a much deeper dive, but any pertinent information that you can do to enlighten them on any of this context or give them context of what they are going to find is going to help. So some good notes and feedback from the client about, their medical condition, any medications they have, personal history that they have with anything, family history, that can all go a long ways. So bottom line, if you have any field underwriting, make sure you include it in the cover letter. So the only other things I would say are, if you have any other carriers, any other quotes, there's nothing I can tell you. Once again, this comes down to trust because these underwriters take a lot of time on these cases. And there is nothing that an underwriter hates more than doing you a solid and giving you a solid offer on a case only to have you go out and then shop that offer against their offer with other carriers and then choose a different carrier instead of them. Because don't forget, when insurance companies go through this process, there's an expense that goes along with this for them. And if you are not honest and open about this and they do this for you too many times, they will shut you down. Or they will not trust you enough and it will backfire on you over the long run. And if you're looking at your career from a long-term perspective, which by the way you should be, you better make sure you're doing good business. The best thing to do is show that you respect their time and be transparent with them, 100% transparent. Don't try to hide things. Trust me, underwriters remember the people who do this to them. They remember the agents, who kind of waste their time, if you will. However, if you're upfront with them, and you're consistent with that, and they know they can trust you, then shopping the case is going to be less of an issue if that's something you absolutely need to do. You know, one of the things to do here is if you do have offers from other carriers, include them here. Like, you got to include them at the bottom of this cover letter. Be honest with them, because it's going to impact the way that they do their job. There is nothing wrong with it as long as you're clear about it. But once again, you just want to make sure you go through that process very, very diligently, right? Like, that's the only thing I can say there. So the last thing I would say that you need to do is make sure you have a real good, clear call to action. Remember, the process of getting a client approved is a partnership with you and the underwriter. You need to let them know you are available to answer any questions that they have. Make sure that they are clear and they understand that you are available and that you are doing your best to support them in their job to get your client where they need to be. You are the cream and the Oreo cookie. You got the client, you got the underwriter, and you're in the middle. And without you, nothing is going to come together, right? Like, so that's really important to understand. So in summary, here's what I would say. Anything you can do to build a solid relationship with the underwriter is going to do nothing but benefit not just this client, but other clients that you have in the future as well. Your cover letter should be well organized and written with your reader, who is the underwriter, in mind. Always be thinking, you got to enter the conversation going on inside of the mind of the underwriter when you're writing this letter. I always think of things in terms of identify their challenges and articulate solutions to their challenges, the underwriter's challenge. This is the same for client. This is no different than for your clients, right? As you're coming up with solutions for their financial needs and the challenges that they have, right? The underwriter is trying to do the same thing for their job in assessing the case that you're trying to get approved. It's important to know that as an agent, you play an extremely unique role in not just designing the policy for the strategy that you're suggesting, but also in influencing and assisting the underwriter with as much relevant information and context to make their job as easy as possible. Remember, a confused mind always says no, and if you can help eliminate or at least reduce as much of that confusion as possible for the underwriter, your odds of success in helping your client get approved are drastically increased. So if you have any questions, any comments, I hope you found this information valuable. I know that if you're an agent, understanding this can be a game changer in your business. So comment in the comment section below. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, click the bell, that way you get notified every single time I launch a new video. And until next video, have a blessed, inspirational day, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.